Well, huge. I mean, when I was a PC and a uniformed sergeant, I probably went to 3 stabbings, none of which were particularly serious. These days, officers in parts of London can expect to go to a succession of stabbings, which are serious and are life-threatening, and then have to deal with the immediate aftermath of that stabbing. They don't know when they're called to a stabbing what they're going to find when they get there, whether they're going to find some lunatic with a knife, or whether they're going to have to perform first aid, because often police are there before paramedics. And police training with first aid after Stephen Lawrence, it's improved over the years. If you look at our armed police, Trojan units, a lot of those officers are trained to a very almost paramedic standard, purely because we've got a problem with stabbings and shootings. Heaven forbid that they go on the rise, but there's there seem to be a few more shootings. Used to be a lot of shootings in the 90s. Trident, Operation Trident, Yardies. That was a major problem for the Met, and that's another story in itself. So it's a huge problem, and the gang culture. I mean, the Casey report. I took the Casey report to task. She barely mentioned the issue of gangs in London. In fact, I don't think she did mention it. There's a couple of other recent reports by the Inspectorate on stop and search. No real reference to gangs at all, mentioned occasionally in passing by others who featured in the report. Yet it's a colossal problem in London. You know, the gangs control certain areas. Some of these gangs have been in existence for more than 20 years, back to the 90s, the Yardie days. Other gangs come and go. Drill music is associated with gangs. The drill rappers also have to be tough and hard and gain reputations. And these are personalities in their own right. These are personalities who will have hundreds of thousands of followers. And everybody knows they're bad. Everybody knows one's just been arrested. In fact, there's a whole coterie of them in prisons, drill rappers. And it's almost as if the drill rappers, to stay on top of their game, have to be violent. They can't be seen to be losing a fight, for example, or getting battered. Or if they do, they have to get the revenge quickly. So the gang problem in London is massive. And it's made worse by the fact that the gang leaders, the drill rappers, are personalities literally worshipped and followed by hundreds of thousands of youngsters. It's a major problem. And it's one that I think the Met needs to inform the public of how serious a problem it is. And that, of course, lends itself to knife culture, knife crime. Gang members carry knives. They attack rival gang members. They insult each other on YouTube, on their drill music videos. And of course, then it spreads. It's almost, a knife becomes a fashion accessory. So people, even if they're not necessarily linked to a gang, might well go out with a knife, maybe to protect themselves, for example. One of the features about gang culture and drill music, for a start, they've got their own news channels on YouTube. They've got guys who will produce, and if you want to know something about a stabbing or a shooting, the best place to find out about it is YouTube, because they do their news bulletin on the stabbing, and then underneath you've got dozens and dozens of comments, often telling you what's happened or what hasn't happened. So you can really get a good picture. They also produce their own documentaries, gang documentaries. So if you want to know a history about certain gangs, you can find that on YouTube. Harlem Spartans, OFB, 3x3, all these, there's loads of them across London. And you think to yourself, well, how has it come to this? There wasn't a sort of an attempt to take these gang music videos down, drill music videos down. That seems to have fallen by the wayside, and they just repost them. They just put them up again. So the gang culture is a massive problem. I've got a lot of friends in teaching because I used to teach for a little while. And head teachers there will tell you about the problems they've got with gangs in schools, because all the kids will know the local gang. They will know the personalities in that gang. They become almost heroes to these school pupils. And of course, in certain schools, you will have younger gang members will be part of that school, which again presents a huge challenge to teachers. And of course, you have had police assigned to certain schools, so it will be a challenge for those officers as well. But the gang culture across London is absolutely massive. And the other point to remember is, of course, the stabbings that you've just referred to. We hear about the stabbings that are serious, stabbings where police turn up and will report the stabbing with the victim and details of the suspect, etc., etc. But what we don't appreciate, and really perhaps the Met would rather, keep it maybe a little bit under wraps, is a number of stabbings that take place that never ever get reported to police. So it's a whole, and you can see again on the gang social media, they have scoreboards on YouTube. You can find them where you've got two gangs that are rival gangs and people keep score. So you get so many points for a murder, so many points for a stabbing, so many points for a shooting, so many points if you beat up a rival gang member, so many points if that gang member isn't actually beaten up but does a runner from a rival gang. And people, you just search on scoreboards on YouTube and you'll find these people keep score between the rival, two rival gangs. That's how awful the situation is at the moment. And as I say, a lot of stabbings that take place, you can find them on the scoreboards, who stabbed who, but they won't appear in police records. They might in intelligence records, because I'm sure police will be looking at these anyway to see what they've missed, what the tensions are, and they will find there so-and-so stabbed so-and-so. Well, we've got no record of that. And often they will treat minor stab wounds with super glue. They will self-treat. And there's also apparently, so people who know about these things tell me, there's a backstreet industry as well, where you've got certain places they can go to, might be a nurse or someone like that, where they can go and get stitched up without having to go to hospital where there's a danger, or theoretically the staff should report that stabbing or shooting to police. So they'll go elsewhere. Obviously, if it's really serious, then they're going to end up in hospital. There's plenty of stabbings that go on that will never get reported to the police, and that's the extent of the problem in London. Massive.